mandatory vaccines to slow the spread of the coronavirus. The debate is taking place with the Omicron variant tightening its grip and sending infection rates soaring to record levels. But lawmakers and the German public remain divided over requiring everyone to get vaccinated.
These people have already formed their opinions on mandatory vaccination. They disapprove. That's why they've taken to the streets of central Berlin while the matter is discussed next door in the German parliament. Inside the Bundestag, views are more diverse. Chancellor Olaf Scholz and his health minister favor compulsory shots for everyone over the age of 18. But some members of their coalition partner parties have different views. I'm speaking as a representative of all colleagues in this House who propose a so-called middle way. We make vaccination mandatory for people over 50, for those who are particularly vulnerable. Everyone else over 18 must attend a mandatory vaccination advice session.
Aren't the highly efficient antiviral drugs also an option? Won't they help protect our intensive care units and our hospitals from overload? I don't dare offer a final verdict today, but we have to examine these milder alternatives to the best of our ability.
It's a first exchange of views here in the Bundestag, and pretty much every possible opinion has been expressed by someone or other during the more than 3-hour-long debate. The majority of the electorate believe making vaccines mandatory is the right step. I'm in favor of mandatory vaccination because I think we should watch out for each other and find a way out of this pandemic as soon as possible.
I think it's a very difficult topic, even if I believe everyone should be vaccinated. Because the integrity of one's own body is basically something nobody should interfere with.
I'm personally against making vaccination mandatory for certain groups of the population only, for example, for healthcare personnel. To me, this would be the worst solution, and I say either you make it mandatory for everyone or for no one. With views this divided both in and outside Parliament, a potential vaccine mandate won't come into effect before summer. Many experts say that will be too late to curb skyrocketing infection rates.
We can get some more perspective on this story now with Ralf Reintjes. He's a professor of epidemiology and public health surveillance at the Hamburg University of Applied Sciences. Good evening to you. Does a vaccine mandate, a general mandate, make sense?
Good evening from Hamburg. From an epidemiological point of view, it is highly desirable for all of us to have a very good immune response against the virus. So preferably, this should be achieved in a way, in a voluntary way. But as a quarter of the population in Germany is still not vaccinated at all, this for politics, for the politicians, this seems to be one of the only ways forward.
So do you personally think it would make sense for Germany to issue a vaccine mandate for everyone over the age of 18?
Yes, it would be, in this situation in which we are at the moment, it would be certainly helpful for all of us in fighting the effect of this pandemic here.
Why wouldn't, for example, simply making it more difficult for people who are unvaccinated to access services like going to restaurants, as is now the case, why isn't that the better approach than implementing a mandate?
As I said, as an epidemiologist, I wouldn't mind whatever way is the best way forward, but we need to achieve a higher vaccination rate. So therefore, this other approach has been running for quite a while, and it looks like we're not seeing many changes at the moment. So it would be, certainly I would be supportive for the developments in the parliament at the moment.
Yeah, that's true. The vaccine rate of people vaccinated, rather, is not ticking up fast enough. On the other hand, mandating vaccines is very different from what other countries are doing. If you look at Denmark, it is actually lifting restrictions. Israel had strict policies. It is also loosening up despite a high infection rate. Is it time that we learn to live with the virus?
Certainly, we need to learn to live with the virus, but it is very difficult to compare different countries because we're in different stages of the pandemic or of the immune response in society. So in Denmark, most of the high-risk groups are vaccinated and at a much larger level than here. And in Israel, the situation is also different from what we experienced. They are already using the second booster there in a general level, at a broader level, and therefore we will get there, but not at this point in time, I would say.
There has been a lot of hope attached to the fact that the Omicron variant appears to be milder. Could it change the severity of the pandemic for good?
Sure, this is what we all hope. And on a long-term basis, we all really expect this. But at the moment, so we can see light at the end of the tunnel. But at the moment, with these extremely high numbers increasing in Germany, with relatively low immune response at societal level, we still have to pass the tunnel before we will get the light in the near future.
We're not there yet. That message from Ralf Reintjes, Professor of Epidemiology and Public Health Surveillance at the Hamburg University of Applied Sciences. Good to have you with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.